Imagine a tree, not a mighty oak or some sacred fig, just a poplar tree, leaning, ordinary. Now imagine that tree sitting in one of the tensest borders in human history, the Korean Demilitarized Zone, the infamous DMZ. What happens next sounds like the start of a bad joke, but it almost ignited a nuclear war. This is the story of Operation Paul Bunyan, a mission so over the top, so absurdly powerful, that it remains one of the most intimidating displays of military might the world has ever seen over a tree. It's August 1976. The Korean peninsula is like a powder keg, North and South Korea technically still at war, separated by the DMZ, one of the most militarized strips of land on Earth. On the southern side, American and South Korean forces stand guard. On the north, the Korean People's Army, high-strung, heavily armed and ready to pounce. At the joint security area, a narrow section within the DMZ, soldiers from both sides can literally see each other. There's no love lost here, just eyes, cold, calculating, watchful eyes. Now in this eerie, high-strung place stands a 30-foot poplar tree. It's blocking the line of sight between a South Korean observation post and a key checkpoint. Sounds minor, right? But in the DMZ, even a leaf out of place can become a deadly problem. On August 18, 1976, a small group of American and South Korean soldiers, led by Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett, went out to trim that very poplar tree. They were unarmed, following DMZ protocols, just tools, helmets, and a chainsaw. As they worked, a group of North Korean soldiers approached. Their leader, a stocky officer named Senior Lieutenant Pak Chul, known by the nickname Lieutenant Bulldog for his confrontational attitude. He ordered them to stop. Boniface ignored him. Then, without warning, chaos erupted. The North Koreans attacked, not with guns, but with fists, clubs, and their own axes. In just moments, the peaceful trimming operation turned into a bloodbath. Boniface was beaten to death on the spot. Barrett tried to flee but was chased down and hacked to death with an axe. Other soldiers barely escaped with their lives. North Korea later claimed it was self-defense, saying the Americans provoked them, but the United Nations command had photographs and witnesses. It wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a cold-blooded ambush. Back in Washington, D.C., the mood turned deadly serious. This wasn't just an insult, it was a message, a challenge, and the U.S. was about to respond, not with diplomacy but with dominance. President Gerald Ford convened the National Security Council. Advisors debated, strike the North, retaliate militarily, risk war, but then someone proposed something theatrical. What if the US finished the original mission, cut down the tree, but did it in a way that screamed, "We're not to be messed with"? Enter Operation Paul Bunyan, named after the mythical giant lumberjack. And oh boy, this was no ordinary lumberjack job. Before dawn, US and South Korean forces launched Operation Paul Bunyan, a mission so massive it felt more like the prelude to an invasion. Two teams of soldiers approached the tree again, but this time, oh, they weren't playing nice. They were heavily armed, escorted by a 64-man security platoon. They had chainsaws, yes, but also machine guns, grenades, and M16 rifles. Overhead, the sky filled with B-52 Stratofortress bombers, flying low and slow to make sure everyone saw them. These weren't just for show, they were nuclear capable. Accompanying them were F-4 Phantom fighter jets, Cobra attack helicopters, and dozens of artillery units locked and loaded, aimed directly at North Korean positions. South Korean troops brought Special Forces commandos, dressed in black, faces painted, martial arts experts ready for hand-to-hand combat. Even the aircraft carrier USS Midway repositioned nearby. Total force, over 800 men, warplanes, tanks, and naval firepower, all to cut down one tree. And in case you're wondering, yes, nuclear weapons were placed on alert. As the chainsaws roared, North Korean soldiers flooded their side of the border. They were visibly panicking, you could see it in their eyes, but they didn't dare make a move. They watched, frozen, as the poplar tree was methodically dismembered, limb by limb, branch by branch, no gunfire, no retaliation, just the overwhelming hum of saws and the silent scream of military power. In just 42 minutes, the tree was gone, reduced to a stump. The message? Crystal clear. You killed two of ours, we could flatten you, but we won't. This time. North Korea was stunned. For the first time in history, Kim Il-sung, the supreme leader himself, expressed regret. Not an apology, but close enough by North Korean standards. He sent a message via the UN command expressing deep regret over the deaths. And just like that, the storm passed. There was no war, no bullets fired that day. Just a tree and a show of power that shook the world. The stump of that poplar tree still sits in the DMZ, a silent reminder of how close we came to a global catastrophe over something as simple and absurd as a tree. Operation Paul Bunyan has since become a textbook case of controlled escalation, how you show force without igniting the flames of war. It's also a stark reminder that in places like the DMZ, the smallest things can explode into international incidents. A tree blocked a view. That view was seen as critical. A team tried to fix it. They were murdered. And in response, the United States showed the full, terrifying weight of its military might, not to destroy, but to send an unspoken message. We're not afraid of war, but we're damn good at it. Even today, military officers study Operation Paul Bunyan for its psychological brilliance. It was theater, yes, but it was deadly theater. Precise, chilling, calculated, and it worked. So next time you hear the wind rustle through the trees, remember, sometimes the quietest things, the ones you barely notice, can start a storm that shakes the entire world. Because in 1976, a single tree nearly lit the fuse for World War III, and the world held its breath as the chainsaws screamed in the DMZ.